to the entertainment Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Going to have a bunch of videos up today as I'm trying to catch up on the content. Just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of my subscribers. All the love you guys have shown me this entire draft process. And I want to go over all the news that we got to go over. And John Mara came out with some very telling quotes talking about the process for the New York Giants throughout the entire draft, talking about both Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman. Wanted to give my thoughts on that. Also wanted to talk about the quote that got the headline. Basically saying that the New York Giants better be better this year. And, obviously he's insinuating if they're not, there will be changes. Now, I don't think it would be to Joe Judge. I would think it would be to Dave Gettleman. And we already know that Dave Gettleman has his feet on the fire this year. Came out from Jay Glazer. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean wins, and we're going to get into that. You can take this any way you will. I kind of wish our owner wouldn't come out and say things like that, because now the media is going to run with this and, put a win total on Dave Gettleman. Otherwise, he's going to be fired. It's going to get the fans up in an uproar, and I don't like starting off the season, especially after you just had a killer draft with that ultimatum. But it is what it is. It is New York, and that's part of the pressure of the job. It's what Dave Gettleman knew he was walking into. It's what Joe Judge knew he was walking into when he took the position. But regardless, I think the New York Giants had a very strong draft. I think they have a very bright future, and I think based off, a lot of the things that Mara had to say about how Gettleman and Judge worked together, I do think this was a collaborative effort. I think they put the minds together, and they picked the players that they wanted to pick. I am confident in saying, especially after reading these quotes, that Joe Judge had just as much say in these draft picks as Dave Gettleman did, and I think they did a terrific job. Let's jump into some of the quotes, though, from Mara regarding Joe Judge and Gettleman. Here's the first one I wanted to pull up from you guys that I got off Giants Wire. He's very, very thorough. He does his homework. He's got great relationships with other coaches around the country who he communicates with. He sees the big picture, and so far, so good, Mara said. And that was to me, that's one of the biggest strengths of this New York Giants coaching staff when in pertaining to this draft. You had a lot of coaches on this staff who coached in college prior, or, either last year or in the past, who have connections in the college ranks. Like I've said, they've scouted these players, recruited these players, coached these players, coached against these players. Obviously, he's got intel through Nick Saban, the best college coach in the business, and I'm sure he has a working relationship with Bill Belichick as well, being that he's worked with him for the last 3 or 4 years. There's actually longer than that. There's no better mentors to have coming up as a coach, and I think that's what John Mara's talking about in that quote. This one, he's talking about, I think, how Gettleman and Joe Judge worked together throughout the whole process. I thought it went far more smoothly than I ever thought I could have imagined. I don't think they agree 100% of the time, but I think they have a lot of respect for one another, and they talk it through. And that was pretty evident during the entire process, which leads me to believe Joe Judge and Gettleman agreed on these picks together. Obviously they both had their input, they both had their say, but they came to a common agreement. And I do think, I'm not saying they think exactly alike, but I do think they share the same core principles. I think they both believe in winning football games in the trenches. Everything you've read about Joe Judge. And another common theme of all these players, they brought in intelligent players. But yeah, these seem just like as much as Joe Judge picks as they did Dave Gettleman picks. Now, this is the quote that, of course, gains the headline of what Mara had to say. I do believe we're on the right path, Mara told the New York Post, but I'm sure our fans are saying, I've heard you say that before. So until we start winning games, I understand there's going to be some doubt. But I do feel good about where we are right now. Mara's encouraging take didn't come without a caveat. However, he also made it abundantly clear that this team must meet some of those higher expectations in 2020. We should be a better team this year. We better be a better team this year, Mara said. So there you have it. There's what Mara finished with that quote. And I mean, yeah, that basically tells Gettleman, and we've known this all along, that if this team is not improved, you will be without a job. Now, do I think that's the best course of action? Am I rooting for that? No. I want stability. You just fired a head coach. You just brought in a new one. If you were to move on from Gettleman, I talk about it all the time, unless you promote from within, it's going to be hard to bring in a guy with a first-year head coach coming off a 4 or 5 win season, and I think we need to take that into account. I think we also need to take into account if you were to fire Gettleman, nobody has ties to guys like Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Who's to say the GM that does come in, if you bring him in from the outside, doesn't want to move on from that quarterback. His job relies on that position. So all that needs to be taken into account. I'm rooting for the Giants this year. I do think they could exceed expectations, but I'm still going in with a conservative outlook. I love the draft. I love what we're building. The 5 to 10 year future looks very bright, but we got to take it in stride. This is a young team with a first-year head coach. We'll see how it all plays out. We play a difficult schedule. I do think the team will be better. No doubt in my mind. I think it'll be better prepared. I think we have more talent. I think we're stronger in the areas that matter most, mainly the offensive line. They've also improved that secondary, and the defensive line now with a full year of Leonard Williams should only be improved, and that's not even taking into account the young players that were already on the roster that should only get better. Guys like Lorenzo Carter, O'Shane Zimenez, DeAndre Baker on the defensive side of the football, Darius Slayton on the offensive side, Will Hernandez, the guard. So those players should only get better. We brought in talent. We brought in established veterans like James Bradbury, Nick Martinez. I do think this will be a better team, but it is a harder schedule, and you have new playbooks to learn. You may not be able to measure that in the win-loss column because of the schedule that they play. But if this team wins 6-7 games, we'll have to wait and see what the Giants decide to do with Dave Gettleman's future. I'm sure that'll be a storyline throughout the season, but regardless of what happens, I think this team is on the right path, and I think the future looks very good. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.